Welcome to the History of Karogi limited time art exhibit. It will showcase a collection of art spanning over a decade, capturing the journey of an artist from their first efforts to their present works. This is a special exhibit that will only be open for a few hours. Rest assured that the program will be recorded. Please wait a moment for the exhibit to open. Hello and welcome. I will be your guide. Feel free to ask me any questions as I introduce each work. We will be going through over 100 of these works, so some will have perhaps a shorter introduction and some will have a bit of a longer description. Without further ado, allow us to take a look at the first work. Hello, Lil G, and welcome. So, as the very first piece of art in this exhibit, this is a head drawn in 2010. Now, seeing as how this is an exhibit about the history of Karohi's art, why was this piece chosen as the first piece? When it comes to an artist's journey, when does it actually begin? Is it the toddler's first scribbles on a piece of paper? Perhaps the first meaningful drawing where the child tried to express a certain object? Or, the family drawing? Some say that no matter what age you decide to start taking drawing seriously, it's at that point when you consider someone's art journey. And so, this head, being the first online published work from Karohi, is used as the starting point. And for some reason, the comments are being cut off. Let me adjust that before we get too far in. Okay. Alright. And interestingly enough, I have some notes about this work, along with many others, though I will not introduce them all. So this one was drawn, as I said, in 2010, and I actually have written down that this was started at 10 a.m. and finished around 8 p.m. As you can see, it is a fully digital work, and being that it was back in 2010, very, very early days when it comes to digital art, it was, well, of course, drawn with a mouse. And you'll see that for the next several years that all of these digital drawings are all drawn by a mouse. Yes. So let's move on. That is actually the only 2010 piece that I have. And from here, we move on to 2011. This is a piece of traditional art, and you can feel definitely the amateurness of this piece. The mice, the training was tough. But this one was drawn with a pencil and paper. So, as you can see, the paper is very yellow. You'll see this for the next several years again. The paper that I used was yellow. And I've clearly given up on referring to myself in the third person. So yes, this is stuff that I drew. Yes, very edgy. I read a book, I think, at this time, and so I read a book about, like, a thief. So I drew a picture about that setting. The next one, so like this is just a representation of my traditional art at the time. The next one, I still think is pretty crazy. First off, you can see that in 2011, there was this feeling of, if I draw art and place it online, I should put a huge watermark of my name. So I did that. But really, it's kind of meaningless. Yes, fan art. Kaito Kid. Not Tuxedo Mask, Kaito Kid from Detective Conan or Magic Kaito. So again, this is drawn with a mouse. And this was absolutely crazy. Because unlike... Let me just remind you. Just a few months ago, I think, from this was my level of digital art. Very, I guess you could say... blurry? This one, I used vectors at the time, and it took me days upon days. And then I kind of gave up on the coloring, as you can see, with a soft brush in the background and not coloring in the lines. But that was the moment when I decided that putting this much effort into drawing digitally with a mouse is something that I will almost never do again. Or I will try to avoid doing. And so I continue drawing in paper on my yellow paper. And I'll just go through these kind of quickly. It's just the level of sketching on paper. This one, 2011 me. Trying to do concept stuff. Capturing the snowflake in the lens of this, like, video recorder. That's like concept art. I don't do that anymore. And then another Kaito Kid. Clearly, in 2011, that was my fan fixation. So here you see that it is very, very, very heavily processed digitally. So originally, if you can look at the lines that are pretty rough here, that's actually because it was drawn on paper. All of those boxes for those buildings. And then I put it through like filter after filter after filter. And again, lightly colored some things. But yeah, I guess you could call this my first experimentation with combining traditional and digital art. Because up until, well, I guess actually my first traditional digital is this one. But this is more like I wanted to go fully digital, but I gave up partway. So yeah, this was using the lines from the traditional art and then trying to color it digitally. Yeah. I mean, filters are still used nowadays. It's just, we get better at using them. And then some more traditional art. Unlike the others that were more sketchy, this one's like a proper clean line art. I suppose in that respect, you can feel the improvement from the sketchy to clean lines. But I mean, that's always a matter of the amount of time that you spend on it. And then this one, is a concept. Yeah, that one was pretty cute. This one's a concept, so I used colored pencils on this one and kind of drew it like falling. And, you know, fall is also like autumn. Yeah, I tried to be clever there. Fall and fall. But my photography skills were not the best, so everything where it's colored traditionally, the colors are really, really washed out. Like, it's over brightened. And then continuing on in 2011, we have this. Attempt at using pen. So the concept of going from pencil and then using a pen and then erasing the pencil lines. So when I look at this, I do remember drawing it for one. And I remember that some of these flowers I drew just by drawing them, and others I looked for reference images. Can you tell which is which? I feel like you can super easily see that this flower was drawn using a reference image. Yeah. And then something like this is not so much a reference image. Like this area, I didn't use as much reference images. But like this is very, very much a reference image, and I still liked how this one turned out. Yeah, tattoo material. The concept of having very sharp lines. High contrast. And then after that, I go back to another of my yellow paper drawings. So if this last one was me drawing lines and then inking it out, this was actually on white paper. So this is yellow paper. And less detailed, but again, 2011 me had so many concept ideas apparently. Because this is another concept. Listening to music and seeing all of the scenery that the music brings to mind. Looking at it now, I mean, I still understand the concept. But it's very... I mean... the point of view is... and the composition is... it's just a simple image. If I were to try doing this concept again, I'd probably try changing the angles. And I'm not sure if I would just do a person sitting in a bed, listening to music. I feel like there could be a bit more going on. Like, if, say, the person who's listening to the music feels trapped, then you would put them somewhere between, like, I don't know, maybe between like two structural elements or some kind of way to show that they feel kind of trapped in their ordinary life. And then as far as the frames for the other worlds that they're listening to, it could probably be represented maybe with different sized frames, laid out differently. And it doesn't have to necessarily be frames either. It could be like in the reflection of a clock face, or like whatever else you have around walls. But yeah, just a thought. And then we have the next one, which is playing around with text. So just a normal fan art of Yamamoto Takeshi from Katekyo Hitman Reborn, but with a bunch of words that kind of have to do with him. I guess you could call this my attempt at design, graphic design, where I have a bunch of different words with slightly different size fonts, but honestly, the size font of like baseball and completely flawless and strongest, like, is practically the same. I could have gone a bit farther and made words a lot bigger. So that's the summary of 2011. And, you know, 2011 is what I consider my starting point, aside from the head that I drew in 2010. So you can see where I was at traditionally. And you can also see how I started kind of experimenting with digital, or like mixing digital and traditional. So that will bring us into the year 2012. Which was my favorite of 2011? Let's see. If I go back... I think this one's a very simple concept, but it was established quite elegantly for my level of skill in 2011. So I think that might be my favorite of 2011. Alright. Going into 2012. I will say that the early years are the years where there is the most improvement. So I would like to kind of point out things as they change. So first one of 2012 is this one. There's a lot of files, so sometimes it's a bit difficult to change between them. Let it load a bit. Let it load a bit longer, I guess. Because I have all of the 100+ files in one file right now. Yes, it's very slow. This is the slowest it's been. As long as it doesn't crash, that's the important part. Maybe I'll delete the files as I go through them. Once we get past a year, you won't be able to look back. So make sure to ask any questions you have about 2011 before I delete it. If you have any others. Is it loading? Come on. It says not responding right now. I'm gonna wait for it to respond. At least keep the first one. Well, I'll keep the very, very first one, like this first one. To compare with the very last one. Alright, I'll keep my first traditional one too. First digital and first traditional. I'll keep these two. And then I'll delete the rest. Okay. We are finally in 2012. So the first piece of 2012 is this one. Another kind of concept-y one. I don't really know where I got this idea. I probably watched something. But the most interesting part of this one is not about the subject matter, but actually about the material. So again, this is traditional art. You know, pens for the lines. I think I probably used... I might have used... What is it? Graphite? What's it called? The shading thing. And then colored pencils. But for the lights, I actually used whiteout. I tried using whiteout after everything was done to add sparkles. I don't know how sparkly they look. They're just blobs of whiteout, really. But yeah, that's an experimentation of mixed media. A very tiny girl standing on someone's scalp brushing their hair. Ah, interesting thought. This hair is very wavy. So, that's that one. Alright, this one, this was a copied one, so it's not like original. This is IA, and this is her box art. So I included this just to show how my copying abilities were at the time in 2012. If you take a look at IA's box art, it is the same pose and everything, and the details are pretty much the same, but I guess at this point you could kind of like already tell my style based on how I copied it, not one-to-one with the box art. So for example, her face is more round, her head in general is bigger, and well, this was my own mistake, but the legs are a bit long in comparison to the body. But yeah, I think the biggest part of what I changed as I was copying was the face. Also, I remember that this was a pain to draw the hair. IA has a really nice design though. Alright, so another interesting thing about 2012. Remember the experimentation of mixing traditional art and digital art? This is the continuation of that. So after taking a picture of, you know, pencil and paper, bringing that onto the computer, and then coloring it using, again, a mouse. So the level of coloring has increased significantly compared to, oh, I guess it would have been good to keep some 2011 stuff, compared to what it was before. So this is like actually figuring out how to mix those elements together. And once I figured that out, I could, with more fan art of Katekyo Hitman Reborn, I could use it more effectively. So just comparing one with the other, this is just an original character kind of sketch. And then this is a more proper fan art. Well, fan art being fan art, the character already exists, so you just kind of copy it. And then the coloring is neater within the lines. That's just a matter of paying attention to the, like, spending more time around the lines. And then there's also some shading with the digital part. I used to like drawing when I was a kid, but I wasn't immediately gifted at it, so naturally I gave up. Well, it takes trial and error practice. I mean, I'm showing a lot of progress here, but this is the span of 2 years already that I'm showing. From 2010, the very beginning, to 2012, we're already like 2 years in. So yeah, there's even this gradient with the fire. And then the next one I included just because it becomes relevant over a decade later. This here is my first attempt at doing manga style art. And what I mean by manga style art is using tones. So you can't really see it here because when I use the tones, I made them way too small. You can kind of see it here that there's a bunch of dots, but I also didn't know how to use it properly. So this is, again, a traditional line art brought into the computer, and then the tones were added on the computer. I believe what I did back here was I searched for tones online, downloaded it, and then like pasted it. Either that or I actually did figure out how to do dot patterns back in 2012. I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, from this moment in 2012 until this year in 2025, I don't think I ever tried doing these kind of tones again. Or if I did, then I didn't get very far with it. So this one attempt comes back over 10 years later. The next one is traditional art. So all of these previous ones where I did pen line art, basically this one here, where it's just a drawing with pen and then scanned in. This is fully traditional with the pen and then colored in with a black marker. I can't remember what my inspiration for this was, but you know, I read manga. There's a bunch of manga that have stuff like this. So I wanted to draw something that was like really black and white with like the kind of shading where it's not line and then color inside the line, it's line and then filled in with black. I guess it's kind of similar to like comic book style in a sense, where they use a lot more of the dark shadows. The next one in 2012 was for a long time my most popular and one of the most, I guess, complete of my drawings. What program did I use for these old digital? Photoshop. And you will see it here. This, for a long time, was my most involved drawing. So, Kirito Asuna, Sword Art Online. We've got actual composition going on here. You know, a sort of mirrored pattern, somewhat circular. You totally get the feeling that this was like with the thought of 4:3 screens instead of 16:9. But the reason why this one was kind of my more involved one for a while is because this was, you know, drawn with pen, brought into the computer, and then colored with a mouse. And there are a lot of details in here. I don't know if you can tell, but drawing it with a mouse, or coloring it with a mouse, was kind of a pain. And the difficult part was that, let me actually zoom in a bit, was that the lines weren't perfect, right? Because they're coming from, you know, a scanner. So they're kind of blurry. So there's also the step of like coloring with the mouse, but there's also the step of cleaning up the lines. So there's a lot that you kind of need to go through. And then the background is just a cloud brush that I got off the internet. So yeah, that was like my max advancement into traditional digital mix. So then the next one, we'll go back to traditional art. This, trying to add a bit more detail into my pencil drawings. You can see that slightly transparent outer shirt, like trying to do fashion also, apparently. And I think just looking at this, I think this is very slightly colored in digitally. Like the pants. And it also looks to me like I might have added like a pink lipstick to the lips digitally, just looking at it. The next one is one of my favorite, mostly traditional ones. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. As a full scenery, kind of full set piece drawing. I really like the composition that like pulls your eye across the screen. And also the kind of fisheye view. This is all drawn with pencil, right? And then the colors are just kind of vaguely added on digitally. I'm still not convinced that art isn't just magic. You're a wizard, aren't you? Well. If you want to see magic being done in real time, that'll happen soon enough. And you can judge for yourself. But yeah, like the fact that, you know, it's actual scenery, it's very scribbled, but it does help that this is an actual location in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I wasn't just making up forests and mountains. I think that probably helps with making it look like a proper landscape. And then what really helps is just the colors being able to tell out that green is the trees and blue is the water. Otherwise, without the colors, you wouldn't be able to tell. Actually, I could show you that right now, what it looks like with no colors. This is what it would look like with just pencil. Obviously, like the parts that are colored kind of change it, but like it would roughly be something like this without the colors. Alright, the next one, I know how I said I just said that like a few of the ones like this and this are kind of some of my top ones. Technically, the next one is also quite high quality, if I may say so myself. This is Hitalia's Japan. And this is, I guess I could call it like revolutionary for my traditional to digital art workflow. Here is where I actually took a pencil drawing as opposed to a pen drawing. And I put it through a filter so that it smoothed the lines. Well, you know, it's just the kind of filter that like I don't know, artistic filter, smoothing filter. So the pencil lines get turned into like blocks of stuff instead of being as blurry. And then using that as the line art, I color it in. So what really helped with this one in particular is that Hitalia's art style in the anime is very simple, so I kind of just copied it. Like, the amount of shading is pretty minor in comparison. And then for the background, the very sparkly part, that was straight up following one of those tutorials on how to make a background, a desktop wallpaper. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but there used to be a bunch of those how to make your own desktop wallpaper, which in this case it was draw a bunch of lines and then use the transform warp tool and like warp it around and yeah, add sparkles. I pretty much followed it step by step. And that is the last of the 2012 drawings. Any questions about 2012? Let me kind of look back and see if I have anything in particular to add. 2012 was a pretty busy year, I guess. Lots of experimenting and improving. Because if I go back to my first digital traditional mix, because this is where I ended up, right? Traditional art, scanned into a computer so that I can color it in digitally. Where I started off at the start of this year was this. So, straight up scanned, nothing done to the original art, and then just slapping some colors on top of it. And then I ended up here. So I think 2012 was a pretty important year when it comes to understanding how to like do this workflow. One question about 2012. Do you remember when the world was supposed to end that year? Was it November? I don't know. Was it supposed to end that year? Let's say November. It doesn't matter though, because we're still here. The world is still here. Well, let's move on to 2013. 2013 is a year where I didn't draw that much. I don't know, I must have been busy with school or something. So, this is my traditional art. So despite 2012 being such a busy year for understanding how to transition from traditional art to digital art, in 2013, since I guess I was busy, I only have traditional art. So, you know, level of traditional art here, I feel like the shading is pretty smooth. It could just be the fact that I blurred it when I saved it to the computer. But it does feel pretty smooth. There's also a decent amount of detail in the hair. And then we have the pen drawing. That type of bit on characters. Yeah. I like that as well. It's probably like Fire Emblem inspired, honestly. But yeah, then there's the pen drawing kind. So, you know how I have like black and white drawings and then pencil drawings and then another pencil drawing from Hyoka. And you can see me trying to add digital text here. Why did I choose this font? Why did I choose it to be a white text with a brown glow around it? I have no clue. It looks kind of terrible. It would be better if it were just plain text with no effects. But I guess I wanted to try something special. My ability to add text to text bubbles will also improve in the future. But yeah, that's it for 2013. Oh, hey Andrew. I am currently in the process of reviewing all of my art. Yes, very quick. 2013, I must have been busy. I don't think there's too much to add there because there's only 3 things and it's just pencil drawings. So if I move on to 2014, 2014 is another busy year. Kind of like 2012 was. I feel like if I look back at everything, there are phases when my art moves quickly and then phases where it moves a bit more slowly. So, as we move on to 2014, the first one is a pencil drawing. So we can immediately transition from this pencil drawing to this one. Feels like an improvement, doesn't it? From here to here. And yet I remember when I was drawing this that it didn't actually feel that difficult. Which is kind of interesting. It's a profile view, and the shading looks really smooth, doesn't it? This is actually a full-size paper, whereas this one was just like in the maybe a quarter of a page. So size is also a factor. You can see kind of like you can actually see the size of the pencil line. But here it's like really, you're able to like back out quite a lot. It's like 2000s type manga. Well, we're in 2014 now, so it's actually fan art of Shiki from Kara no Kyokai, which, is it 2000s or is it actually like 90s? I'm not sure. Maybe the anime is from the 2000s. But yeah, that's the level of traditional art as of the start of 2014. And then right after that, I can go into what the level of traditional to digital art. Look at how I've played around with digital effects. Wow, it's a lens flare. Oh, it's some kind of shine on the sword. So again, this is a pen on paper, scanned to a computer, and then colored in with a mouse. The amount of effort that goes into coloring with a mouse continues to increase. So I think this might be where I start playing with blend layers. It's very good. It will get even better. We're still only at 2014. I think the improvement in the next, like, this whole area, the improvement is kind of crazy when I look back at it. So, just to remind you guys, in 2012, which is the last time I had digital art, this is where I was at. Scanning and then doing some simple coloring. And then this is kind of where it went, adding effects, and then having blend layers here. So you can see it's not like a solid color, there's kind of a gradient to it. I'm not a fan of that happening right now, but, you know, experimenting in my youth. And then we have more Conan. So Conan has a very standard design. So drawing it on paper, then with a pen, doing the lines, and then, you know, basically bucket tooling all of the sections with a solid color and then shading it with a soft brush. So at the time I was doing this, I was using a soft brush. And I think this one turned out really well because, like, precisely because of Conan's simple design. And the reason why I picked a soft brush, I think, is because I was kind of imitating the original art style, which is watercolor, I guess? So it doesn't exactly have hard edges in the manga coloring either. But yeah, I liked how this one turned out back when I drew it. It felt very Conan. Alright. We're continuing on the 2014 improvements. 2014 Reminder, I'm still using a mouse for everything. This is a fully digital drawing. This is me moving on from drawing with pencil or pen, scanning it, and putting it in the computer. This is fully drawn with a mouse. So each of these lines is click, click, drag, drag, click, 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 drag, click, 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 click. And somehow I did this with a mouse. What level of patience? There isn't too much to say about it, because the concept of like drawing the lines is the same as drawing it with a pencil, but drawing it with a mouse is just more time consuming. I guess one thing is that drawing it digitally, I don't have like a pencil sketch to, you know, be like, this is where the eyes are, this is where the nose is, this is where the mouth is. But since it's digital, you can move it around. Yes, this is all with a mouse. But yeah, I don't think I ever did more than headshots with just a mouse. Because once you get to like adding the rest of the body, I think I would get tired of the mouse. So yeah, then we head back to our traditional. This is a pen with some colored pencils. And you can see, again, my bad photography skills or bad scanning skills. This is actually red in real life. I gotta just like point that out. This is red in real life. This is brown in real life. You can't really tell anything here. It's all super washed out. And then taking the same principle of drawing on paper with pen, but instead coloring it digitally, we have the next one, this. I think that's actually a good comparison, because the pen part between these two is the exact same, but this one's colored in traditionally, and this one's colored in digitally. So even though I say that this one's like super washed out and you can't really tell the difference between the colors, I'll say that when I color digitally like this, my color choices are very intense. Like, the grass is green, so I'll pick green. This guy will be blue, so every single part of him will be blue pretty much. Oh, this girl is red? Okay, her whole outfit is red. Even her hair. So, my understanding of color, still primitive at this point. At least with this, since I'm limited by the actual colored pencils, I feel like it works fine. Yeah, I feel like my color choices will continue to suffer for quite some time. When I do fan art, since the characters already exist and they already have outfits that have good color coordination and all that, it turns out okay. But this is a completely original drawing. So, yeah, green grass, blue guy, red girl. Next one is a actual cutout. I thought that blue-haired dude was Makoto from Persona. I don't think I even knew that Persona 3 existed when I drew that. It's just blue guy, red girl. No creativity there. Yeah, this one is just the pen drawing. I guess if I take a look at all three of these, they're all variations on I have a pen, I have a paper, how do I arrange it from there? Where this one's coloring it in traditionally, this one's coloring it in digitally, and this one's just not coloring it in at all, and instead literally taking a pair of scissors and cutting around the edges. That was something that I liked to do back then. Like, draw something and then cut it out, because then I could, well, I could play with them like little figures. But yeah, that was something that I did. So I played with this a bit. It's like, wow, he's sitting on my table. Oh, he's sitting on my book. Gotta make your own toys. Alright. So that was a bit of a traditional side quest, let's call it. Next one is our venture back to what if I drew something fully digital again? This is fully digital again. Everything with a mouse. And again, only a headshot because yeah. Drawing with a mouse. Ah. So, I think I followed like a realism tutorial or something for this. So, yeah. A lot of it was use a brush, blur, blur, blur. Use a brush, blur, 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 blur. I don't know if I can draw with a mouse like this anymore. I think this must have just taken a long time. Like, right now I've got a mouse. I've got this on my screen. I could try, you know, drawing on top of it with a mouse. Like, if I were to add highlights, this is me with my mouse right now. Like, how is it meant to work? Drawing with a mouse. This does not look like the correct way of doing it. Kind of looks like he's chewing, like you caught him eating something. I guess so. He does have like that shading around his mouth. I also think he looks kind of unhealthy. Do you see that yellow tinge to his skin around like the side of his face? His left side, our right side. It looks yellow, right? Clearly my color picker was different from the left and the right side of the face. Yeah, the jaundice. Alright. Gotta give me a moment before this thing, you know, stops responding again. We can stare at this guy who's... Like, the other thing that I find funny about this one is that since this thing is drawn by, like, blending colors, what's with the random blob here and the random blob here? Trying to be artistic? I've seen this character before. Who would that be? I wasn't drawing any particular character with this. Alright, let's take a look at the next one. Ah. It's just another simple coloring one. Although, this time, I guess you could say I got better at taking a picture of traditional art. I don't think there's too much to say about this one. It's original, and it's traditional, and it's very pointy. It's very pointy. What happened to make this guy so pointy? I must have read... I bet I read a manga where they had this art style, and then I drew it like this. This is unlike anything else this year. And then the final one for 2014 is this. Just to remind you guys that when I draw with pencil with full shading, this is kind of what I do. But when I draw with pencil and then line it with a pen, this is kind of what I do. I kind of find that funny when I look back at my old art. It's like, wow, this pencil drawing with full shading looks so good. It's kind of like how this is the end of 2014. This is the start of 2014. Like, coloring, or not coloring, shading with a pencil lets you get so much, like, value, you know? Yeah, there's a lot more detail in his hair, for example. Like, here it's... You have some detail, but it's basically flat. Like, this is a flat panel. And then here you actually have, like, a bunch of sections. And then, well, there's, like, the whole flower frame thing going on, which is a bit extra, but, you know. And what I like here is actually the shading of the clothes. Because you've got, you know, the light coming from here, but you also have it kind of, like, fading out here so that it, like, accommodates the flower. I think that ended up looking really good. But yeah, then you have, when I draw with a pen, and then I just put lines with a pen, it looks like that. Okay, this might be not the best example. Let's say this is probably my best pen drawing that I didn't bring into digital. Yeah, this is probably the best one that I had. So, like, this one, I think is pretty decent. It's got, like, fairly good proportions, pose. Expression looks kind of cool. Hair is kind of, you know, blown to one side. And then the pencil. It's so funny. I don't do pencil drawings like this anymore, though. What a shame. Because to do pencil drawings like this, it's just so much faster to do it digitally. But it doesn't give the same effect. So yeah, 2014 was a year where there was perhaps some improvement, but not as dramatic as 2012. 2013 was just an off year. I think 2014 was a year where mostly keeping things the same, but slightly improving. I like the pointy boy. I feel like if I pet him, I'd lose my hand, but it would be worth it. The pointy boy is... I totally think I read something that had that art style and then just went with that. Alright. Any questions about 2014? Anything you want to see again? I'll just go through them in reverse order. Kind of the progression for this one year back to Shiki. Alright. If not, I'll move on to 2015. 2015, I think, has some movement, some more experimentation again, some more learning. Starting from the very first one. Fan art of Ori-sama Teacher. Here we have my first use, I think, of Paint Tool SAI. So this is, I continue to use my strategy of drawing with a pen and then scanning it into the computer and then coloring it digitally. But unlike before where I had like the soft brushes or I had the hard brushes, This one has a watercolor brush. The watercolor brush that is part of Paint Tool SAI. And not only am I using a different kind of brush, I've also experimented once again with graphic design. Wow, it's a checkerboard pattern in the background. There's a star, a spiral, a random sparkle, another star. There's only 4 things in here. It's like, I want to add things. And they're all the same size. They're all like this size. There's no variance in size either. But you know, I tried. Oh, what's with the bunny mask? Well, read the source material to find out. Yeah, the graphics are designed. More designed than any of the others. But I think the new brush is a big deal. It makes it look a lot more painted. Even though, again, we're still in the mouse era. Everything is being colored by mouse. Ore-sama teacher, this was written by mouse. We have our revival of the blue boy and the red girl. My lack of creativity. So, again, we've got that watercolor brush that makes things look painted. Even though it's digital, this moon is weirdly sharp in detail. As in, it's literally just a circle, probably the circle tool. It's a bit strangely sharp. And everything is just kind of like weirdly scribbled and like blended. But hey, it looks painted. It looks very wet. It looks like the watercolor bleeded everywhere, which is not a good thing. Would that mean these are like your first recurring OCs? They don't have the same character design though. The only thing that's the same about them is that it's the red girl and the blue boy. Yeah, Mr. Blue and Miss Red. They look different every time, I think. It could be an AU. And then the other, I remember having trouble with this. This is the sky. This is the water. Can you tell the difference? You can't. How do you tell the difference between the sky and like the water? It's just a somewhat darker line. But yeah, just the brush makes such a difference in the feel. The next one has an entirely different feel. This is me experimenting with patterns. Those patterns that you find off the internet. So you can just kind of like paste. So the background is a pattern, the clothes is a pattern, and then the art style is based off of Akatsuki no Yona. I was reading Akatsuki no Yona during this time, so that's kind of what influenced this art style. The kind of sharpness. I think even like the way of drawing this hair is inspired off of that. Heck, even the way of drawing this clothes, like the way that the folds of the fabric bunch up, I think that's like straight up inspired off of Akatsuki no Yona. But yeah, the patterns made, I liked how the patterns worked with this one. Everything is purple. And then the next one I just wanted to include for fun. There was a period of time when people used to draw on these like online oekaki boards. It's like a place where on the browser there's like you know, drawing tools and you can draw on a canvas in the browser. I drew this on a canvas in the browser with my mouse. And the interesting thing is that the tools are a bit different from, say, what I was using CLIPSTUDIO. So like this, it had this the pixel brush or pen, whatever you want to call it. And it also had this brush that has like, I don't know how to call it. It's like dots, but it's not dots. It's like, I mean, you can see it if I zoom in. It's just got like this pattern to it, right? Like this. Everything is very pixely. So it's like a brush that lets you blur things, but it's all with dots, and I think that's really cool. And then it does have like normal, blurry, soft brushes. So, nothing too special about this one. I just thought it was an interesting time of using tools in browsers, drawing tools in browsers. She looks like the anime stereotype of older sister, single teacher, older single teacher who hates her job. This one? Those eyes are not smiling. Alright. There's not much else to say about this one, so moving on to the next one. This is a pen drawing. So in the past, all of my traditional pen drawings have been ones where the lines are really sharp, right? Like, I've got the line art in pen and then everything else is white space. And if I am coloring something in with pen or marker, if I'm actually coloring in, I would be using a marker, then it would be like full-on black. This looks a lot better in person, but what happened with this one is I actually shaded it with pen. You can sort of see where there's a bit of shading. This is all with pen, not pencil. And this outfit, you know, the Gakuren kind of uniform, was colored entirely in pen. And it was actually shaded. Not that you can really tell when I scanned it in, but like in person, some of the parts are like kind of pushed down with the pen harder so that it's darker, and then some are like a bit lighter. And the way it catches the light actually works. But it doesn't work when you look at it like this. And because of that, I don't think I ever really did it again. But I think it was cool. My 2015 attempt at shading with a pen. And then, following this, we have our scan in a pencil drawing and color it in with digital. It's okay, I can imagine it. Alright. I hope your imagination makes it even better than it was. The power of imagination. Alright, yes, this is Inigo from Fire Emblem. And this one is also a bit different from things. So up until, like, ever since 2012, I guess, all of my traditional to digital pipeline, let's call it, was drawing something on paper, doing the lines in pen, and then scanning it in and doing the coloring on the computer. This is going back to the concept of drawing something in pencil, shading it in pencil, and then bringing it into the computer. And yes, it is Inigo. So if I were to compare the concept for how, like, the workflow of this, it's kind of close to the Yu-Gi-Oh one. So you can see all of the details that are easily done with pencil and not quite so easily done with pen, like the tree bark. Like, doing tree bark like this with pen wouldn't work because it would just be, you know, black lines, white area, whereas doing it with pencil lets you do like actual shading and texture. Same with like the grass and dirt, like the pattern of the dirt here. I don't really know what this pattern of dirt is, but there's like a pattern to the dirt. It feels textured. The like roughness of the armor, like stuff that you can only do with pencil, really. Fire Emblem, the old series? This is Fire Emblem Awakening. Depends how you consider it, if you consider it old. But yeah, let me do a quick jump here. So it's using the same principle as this, but leveled up. The Yu-Gi-Oh! GX one from 2012 to 2015 Fire Emblem. So after drawing Inigo like this, I kind of thought, maybe this technique is viable. So that was my realization upon drawing this one. But please don't tell me Awakening is considered old. Well, perhaps I won't tell you then, but you need only look it up. You need only look up the release date. And this was my profile picture for a while. It was drawn entirely by mouse. We're still in the mouse era. How long will the mouse era last? It's lasted quite some time now. But yeah, this was very simple. Since it's drawn with a mouse, the way it actually worked, maybe I can actually do that right now. So instead of, let's say for the eye, instead of drawing the eye like, let's say, oh wait, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Instead of drawing the eye like this, I'm drawing with the mouse. What I do for this is I actually draw a line and then erase it. Like, each line has to be drawn twice. Like, this is how it was drawn with a mouse. By doing this. By drawing a line and then erasing it, and this is all clicking. With the mouse. And then doing this, and then getting the edge back. Like, this is how this whole drawing was drawn. With a mouse. And that's also how, like, these artifacts were made, because it happens when you draw a line, and then you, like, erase it, and then you draw, like, the other line, kind of like you're trying to trace it, but then you miss, and then you erase it. You get these kind of things. Because you're doing it with a mouse. You miss things. Yeah, mouse drawing. Yes, the next one. The next one bothered me a lot when I was drawing it. I took a long time on this one. This is a Tamako love story fan art of Mochizuki. And it's very digital, right? Finally decides to show up. Welcome, welcome. It's by Kyoto Animation. But yeah. This is one of the, I guess you can call it like a successor to this workflow, right? I draw and then get really clean lines and then color it like it's an anime. But I could not figure out how to color it like it was an anime. I was trying to figure out the lighting and like the shading. And I went through so many iterations that you can see that for some reason he has like 3 different shadows and it's kind of blurry here. And then like his pants also have this weird shadow. And then for some reason his walls have diamonds of light on them That doesn't make any sense. There's a random bit of light in the very corner of the room, which should be dark. Don't know why it's light there. There's also a light here. There's also some random lights here. Like, it's really a mystery. What was I trying to do here? Trying to get light to work? But yeah. I do still think the lines are clean. The perspective is really wonky. The lighting is really wonky, but I guess you could say this is a basis for a lot of my improvement later on, so this is kind of like the starting point. And then from here, we go back to some more traditional digital mix. I added this one just to say I still, in 2015, have not figured out that grass is not literally green. This time at least, the sky and the water are different colors. You can tell them apart a bit. This is not really the color of water, but, you know, there is a difference. The grass just really... it's incredible. The grass is just green. But yeah, pink picnic paper thing, green grass, blue water, blue sky. This one is pretty nice. I just think the color choices remind me a lot of, where was it? Of this, right? I guess the colors are a bit better. But it does feel very jarring. I think the other part is the perspective, the horizon being like way up here. What is this fence doing here? The angle of this, what is this, blanket? It seems to imply that, let me just draw some lines here. If I draw these lines to the end, oh my gosh, my mouse. I mean, I guess technically the horizon is there, but I don't like that being there. I'd rather the horizon be over here, you know, rule of thirds. And then if the water is over here, we can bring the fence down over here. And then it could be like, you know, it could look a lot better, I think. Perspective-wise. Incidentally, this is another the same workflow as this, where it's mostly pencil for the details, and then colors colored in after that. I think where you see it the most is probably with the purse. And I guess the shading for the skirt is also there. One thing I don't like about the shading with pencil and then coloring it digitally after is what it does to the skin. Because then you just end up with like vaguely gray sections on the skin. But yeah, that leaves us with the last one of 2015, which is a fully traditional drawing. I don't think I've had very many full traditional drawings with like full colored pencils. So I finally figured out how to take pictures. I think that's probably the takeaway here. So this is colored pencils, right? If we recall the last time I have a traditional drawing, fully traditional drawing, it looked like this. Okay, this is the pen one. This is like a pencil one. Like this is a proper like, I don't use pen here. But the quality of actually being able to take a picture with colors that feel more represented, yeah. An improvement in a different sense. But I guess with this one you can finally feel the amount of detail that I put in a pencil drawing being used for something where I'm having color. Because as we previously saw, my pencil drawings can look pretty good, but pencil drawings being, you know, a single color end up looking something like this. Whereas if you have colored pencils, you can use the same techniques as... Okay, maybe not the same techniques, but similar techniques of like shading and adding detail. You just need to use a different colored pencil for stuff. So yeah, it's kind of mixing the pencil with the pen thing. And then finally I have a colored pencil drawing. And this is Akatsuki no Yona, Shina, the blue dragon. The fun thing about looking back at old drawings is that you can see kind of the trajectory of fandoms that I've been in, like the media that I read and watch throughout history. You can tell that I liked Akatsuki no Yona in these years. You can tell that I played Fire Emblem. You can tell that I read Orisama Teacher. You can tell that I was into Gintama. You can tell that I was into Conan, especially at the very beginning here. Like, seeing all of the stuff that I draw is kind of like, ah, that's the kind of stuff that I like. Ooh, I just took a look at 2016, and 2016 is crazy, so before I get into 2016, anything you want to see again in 2015? I guess having looked at 2016, 2015 is a pretty chill year. Like, I was able to experience using a different kind of brush when I moved to CLIPSTUDIO. The power of changing to a different media. And I guess you could just say I was using different tools. You know, the watercolor brush, using different patterns, playing around on oikaki, online platforms, trying to shade with a pen, using pencil shading as my base for digital transitions, going full digital using this kind of way of drawing. This is the only one I did like this, by the way. Maybe I did like one other. Like, it was fun to do, but doing full digital is just a pain no matter what. And then this was just a frustrating piece. But yeah, and then the full-on colored pencil. Alright, 2016. Yeah, 2016 is crazy. I'm thinking about like how to explain 2016. And I guess the way to describe 2016 is I got a drawing tablet. Yes, CLIPSTUDIO. So 2016 is the year I got a drawing tablet. So from here on out, you can see a new era of Karohi art. First is this. I'm just like, wait, really? The difference between 2015 and 2016 immediately begins like this. Yes, because having a drawing tablet lets you actually draw things directly, digitally, instead of having to go through all of those steps of, okay, gotta draw this on paper, do I do it with a pen? I have to make sure that everything is super clean so that when I take a picture of it or scan it, there's not a single speck of dust. But drawing digitally is like, okay, I can just draw straight away and I can even erase things. Hey, Liam! So this was one of my first digital... I actually took a lot of time on this, and I think looking back now, it is nice that there's this kind of like framing around it, but I think the size of everything is really off. Who would have guessed that equipment made especially for drawing would make drawing easier? I mean, pencils and paper are also for drawing, right? So like, I feel like if I took her and moved her like down, don't mind that I've kind of copied her. I feel like if I moved her down, it would look better. I mean, it's too late to change things now, exactly, but... Let me just kind of vaguely do something. But like, you see, if she's a bit lower, then I think it makes a bit more sense. You know? Otherwise, it looks like she's a giant. And you can kind of feel like, oh, that thing's a bit further away, that's why it's small. And it also helps, you know, if the rule of thirds and stuff, if this is over here and then this, I can actually move her down a bit more so that she's like on the bottom third. But yeah, and then it helps perspective, and it's still kind of framing her, especially if I move the bushes so that they frame her a bit better as well. I could also just make this whole piece taller, like move her down and then like stretch out the bottom of it. But yeah, this was something, this was actually one that I really liked. It's just the composition looking back could have been a bit better. And then speaking of composition, the next one is one that I used for my header for a while, because I liked how it looked as a header, composition-wise. And it was a traditional to digital one, because even if I got a tablet and could do everything digitally right away without having to do a traditional step, you know, I've spent... How many years is it now? Oh yeah. Let me update the year. We're on 2016 now, not 2015. We've spent 6 years, well, 5 full years, drawing on paper with pencil and pen. So it's kind of what I was used to doing. I mean, I'm still used to doing it, honestly, drawing on pencil. So when it comes to planning out a drawing on paper is still easier. So this is it. Sorry for the delay. It wasn't responding, but it is now responding. So this was actually my header for a while. And as a header, it was... You know, I don't know, cropped like maybe this much. Oh. It went out of frame. But like, it looks cool. I think it looks cool. But this is one of the ones where I used pen and then I colored it digitally. But now that I had a tablet, coloring it digitally is easier. The proportions are kind of weird, but like, the color is very... This like vaguely green, red combination is actually kind of calming. And then in the same vein of using pen, this is another one where the lines are all pen and then it was scanned in. And this, I would say, is, you know, maybe my first actual success at graphic design. I remember when I drew this, I was like, wait, this is actual graphic design. Look, the words are actually like serving a purpose and making it look like, I don't know, designed. Like Len, Kagamine, Len. What do you feel the difference between using a mouse and a pen? It's crazy different. With a mouse, you click and drag. Like, you want to draw a circle? It's or a square with a mouse. You can't control how far you move as easily. But yeah. That was that. And then I've got Yuri on Ice. Fully digital. Because I have a pen tablet. I don't know what else to say about it, like... The fully digital part, you know, you draw lines, you color it in. Yaoi indeed. I also have the lens flare. The cheesy lens flare. I guess I was still using it back then. But yeah, being able to use a pen tablet is just so much easier. And then another thing that, you know, pen tablet. So we have this one as well. Why is it so hard for me to think of things to say once I have a tablet? Like, it's so much easier to draw. You can draw lines and the lines just appear. You can fill colors and the colors just appear. That's why 2016 is kind of crazy. It's like my limitations are all gone. And then I say that, but the next one is actually, I think, one of my more detailed, fully traditional ones. So I guess right around when I got like fully digital, maybe if I think back about it, being able to do fully digital stuff also gave me a bit more motivation to do fully digital stuff. What was the inspiration for this piece? Oh, this is NG Life fan art. So this is actually like, you know, fan art of a manga. If you search up NG Life, you can probably figure it out. Well, maybe not if you just search it up, if you read it. If you read NG Life, then you might get it. But yeah, so here, this is my more detailed traditional art. Black Butler! So, pen to do all of this detailed line work, and then colored pencils to do all of the coloring and shading. And yeah, that's pretty much it, right? I feel like Carry Progress is like anime graphic improvement progress 2000 till 25. I think that's the same for like a lot of people, right? People follow the trends in art. Yeah, doing things traditionally, like this kind of shading, is something that feels super easy and traditional, but relatively difficult digitally, personally. Because when you draw traditionally and you're like doing shading for this, you're layering a lot. You're basically kind of softly moving your pencil and like being like, yeah, the close goes here, it'll hit this point, and then like it'll go there. And as you're kind of like scribbling down where it should go, you end up drawing the folds in the close as you're just kind of, this is where it would hit this. So I guess it's a bit like you're spending a bit of more time thinking about it. But I'll be honest, because I spent so much time drawing this, I thought for so long while I was drawing it, why the heck is he wearing his coat like this? Why is he just like draping it randomly over him? That's the kind of thing that you wonder once, you know, all of the pen lines are drawn in, and then I'm just shading everything. I'm like, Why did I draw it like this? Why did I draw it like this? But yeah, that's traditional art. Once I am no longer kind of constrained by starting a drawing traditionally and then moving it over digitally. If I do it traditionally, I'll just do the whole thing traditionally. And on that note, the next one is fully digital. It's Fire Emblem again! You can tell that I still like Fire Emblem. So yeah, this is fully digital, and you know what I just said about the shading in clothes? So while the shading for draping clothes, like in the last one traditionally here, I said it's easy to do because you kind of like scribble and then you somehow end up finding the folds in the clothes. This kind of digital clothes shading, like the folds in here and the folds in the ribbon, this is like a different kind of easy, I guess. Because you end up drawing like blocks. Like here you kind of just follow and you kind of draw blocks more so than, I guess, like continuously tracing the same place. Fire Emblem is very well known in there, I see. In my place, never heard of Fire Emblem. I mean, depends on the person, right? Depends on the group. Just because I knew Fire Emblem doesn't mean everyone knows Fire Emblem. And just because not many people know Fire Emblem where you are, there might be someone there that knows Fire Emblem. And well, Fire Emblem was pretty unpopular a long time ago, and it's only more recently that it's gotten more well-known. And then yeah, this is digital fire. I had some trouble with the fire. I'm like, how do I draw fire? I still don't really know how to draw fire. Fire Emblem again, next picture. Well, you have that wrong. Have to go. There's a limit how much I can ignore work to watch streams. Okay. Thanks for stopping by, Grasshair. Good luck with your work. The next one is a fully traditional one. As I said, once I can do fully digital, it means that whenever I start a traditional one, it ends up being fully traditional. So, yeah. This is Akagami no Shirayuki Hime. Snow White with the red hair. This is like my, I don't know, peak romance. For me at least. Top romance manga. What is there? This? What else is there? Like Akatsuki no Yona, which I had mentioned before, was the other shoujo manga that I liked. And there were, I mean, the anime I think came out around the same periods. Ah, you've heard about it but you haven't seen it? I mean, it's a romance, so depending on whether you like romance is whether you would like it or not. I think it's very chill, well-paced. Like, it has some dramatic moments, but it's not like triangles and stuff, you know? It's more so... yeah, slice of life romance. There's like... do I call it politics? There's some politics, I guess. Instead of it being like triangles and misunderstandings that lead to the conflicts in the relationship, it's more like politics that get in the way of the relationship. But like their feelings are straightforward. I mean, I guess if you depending on who you root for, I guess there's a triangle. But it's not gonna happen. You know those kind of triangles? But yeah, it's kinda realistic. As much as it can be in a fantasy world. And I also just like the art style. I'd say the art style is an inspiration to me. Multi-shipper. I think that's a good life to have. Yes, yes. I think the anime... I don't remember. Does it end off at a good point? The anime is by Bones, I think? But it's a good anime. The anime continues a lot... I mean, the manga continues a lot farther, though. Like, a lot further. As they tend to. Yeah, 2016 continues. Boy, this is gonna take a while. 2016 continues. Here is... let's call it the black and white digital form. So all of those early ones in like 2011, 2012, 2013 was a dead year. 2014, those ones that I drew with pen, where it's just, you know, the pen lines and then like white around it. It's kind of like the digital version of that, but I also have gray for shading. And I remember that this one didn't take me that long, so it was quite fun. I don't know, just a quick thing. I still think it looks pretty cool. Like, honestly, I don't do skirts like this anymore. This kind of skirt is quite eye-catching, isn't it? Not that I understand how any of the folds work. How the heck did I draw this? Like, why is there random spikes and like random lines and like triangles? It doesn't make sense, but it looks cool. And then, yeah, water stuff. Alright, it is not responding again, so give me a moment before I move on to the last one of 2016. There was an attempt. I think it was a pretty good attempt. Oh yeah, and this one also has like the whole dark shadows that are just plain, like, blocked out. No, I think this one's really cool. Like, if I drew this today, I think I'd still be happy with it. Like, there might be some things that could be cleaned up, but it's meant to be, like, a pretty fast sketch. So it makes sense, the level of detail that's there. And so, the last one of 2016 is Toma from Idolmaster. Da-da-da. Because I watched Idolmaster Side M. And this is one where... I remember when I drew this, I thought like, wow, I feel like this one looks so good. But like, looking back at it, it looks pretty normal to me now. When I first drew it, I think it was like the amount of detail, perhaps, that I was proud of. Because it looks very... It does look very digital, right? And if I compare it with my other digital stuff, like, this is very nice. But it doesn't have as much contrast. I think Idolmaster's All Ladies Never Ever in my thoughts seen a dude? Well, it's Idolmaster Side M. And he does show up in the Idolmaster series where there's girls, but he's like a side character. But yeah, for my all digital stuff, you know, the transition here, all digital for this one, the shading, and honestly, kind of off model. Shading is kind of basic. This one, again, shading is kind of basic. The lines are all like solid. And then this is probably the most detailed digital up to this point. And then this digital one adds the contrast. So here, I guess if you look at the lightest light and the darkest dark in her hair, it's not that different. Same with like the shading on her clothes, the white versus this kind of light blue gray. So I think it looks nice, it's just there's not much contrast. And then when you get to this one, there's like the highlights, there's the darker shadows, I guess there's just like, in general, more colors, more details. So that's probably why I was happy with it at the time. But now that I'm looking back, it's kind of just normal. But yeah, that's the craziness of 2016, the year I got a drawing tablet. And suddenly felt like I was able to draw. Draw so many things. And I also had a bunch of traditional art lying around. I think the thing about the traditional art in 2016 is that they're the ones that I might have started in 2015 and then finished in 2016. At least I think that's possible. Yeah, 2017. I go on to 2017. 2017 is a bit of a slow year. Kind of like how 2013 was a slow year. I guess after getting the tablet and having a lot of fun drawing, I need to focus on school again the next year. So I only have a few, and they're all kind of sketchy, I guess. Like, quick ones. So the first of 2017 is this. Having now gotten, you know, the pen tablet. Messing around with a face. Now the funny thought about this one is, how does this compare to when I was drawing faces as an experiment with a mouse? So back in 2014, right, I was drawing with full mouse, and I drew this. Ignore the random scribbles I just added on top. So, like, this was full mouse, and then this is like with a tablet. So it's kind of fun to think about. This one's lacking a lot of contrast. It's like gray, brown. I feel like the eyes might fit a bit better. But I mean, honestly, they're both not the best. So that was probably just like a doodle. And then this was my profile picture for a while too. This was actually the very first iteration of my OC Lachlan, who I will draw later on. But his design changed quite a lot. But yeah, I guess the main thing about this one is like the Prince feeling. Like, now that I look at this, did I use a chain brush for this? I definitely didn't draw this by hand. I can't imagine this being drawn by hand. This was a brush. This was drawn by hand, though. And this is possibly the most detailed drawing that I did this year, because after this, it's just a 1-hour doodle. December 10th, 2017. Miyuki Kazuya. December 11th, 2017, an hour and 45 minutes. By the way, this is what I mean when I'm drawing like Koshien fan art. This is my, yeah, I've kind of drawn like baseball before. Yeah, baseball art. This is my baseball art. But yeah, very, very, very simple, very quick. And then one pencil drawing, which was just I'm looking at this, what the heck? This is so parallel with like the edge of the screen. Coincidence, I guess. But yeah, just a doodle, Fire Emblem again, because Fire Emblem, you know, I like Fire Emblem. And then a quick doodle of Hearth, who's from, gosh, I can't remember the name of the anime anymore. But it's about like, it's like romance, I think, and like about online gaming. But yeah, very, very quick. Must go now, good luck. All right, thanks for sticking around, Andrea, and have a nice weekend. But yeah, that's it for 2017. It's very, very, very quick, very basic. Which brings us to 2018. I guess like during this time, school was a thing. School is always a thing. School sure lasts a long time, doesn't it? Alright, we're in 2018. So this was a period of time where I was trying to participate in fan events. And this was a fan event for an anime called Sokyu no Fafner. Fafner in the Deep Azure in English. So it's like a mecha anime. If you know Gundam Seed, it has the same character designer. So if you recognize like the character designs, that's kind of like the same character designer. But yeah, it's a good mecha anime. So I drew some things for this mecha anime. They're just like quick. I think each one of these was just sit down, draw it, and then finish it. Probably like all of these are done in one sitting. Yeah, they're all characters there. I think what I developed in 2018 is kind of this ability to like sit down, draw something, and have it be, I guess, a single piece, right? Like here, it's kind of framed with this, I don't know, brushy background. This is the simple draw a rectangle background, and then like, you know, it looks framed. It looks like a complete piece. This is the same kind of draw a rectangle in the background. It looks like a, you know, postable online. And then this one is just a simple copy it and turn it into a shadow. Yeah, pose variety is something that helps a lot. And then another thing that I did, hey, look, it's Fire Emblem again. I tried drawing something that is like a sprite, using a Fire Emblem character to see what it's like to draw a sprite. You know, just a standing character with an expression that makes different expressions. I suppose you could say that this is the start of where I started down the road of live 2D? Not exactly, but going down the road of sprites brings you down to live 2D pretty quickly. And then I have this drawing of Okita from Fate Grand Order. When I look back at this, I think the top looks really cool, very dynamic, and then I look at the bottom and I'm like, what are these feet? What are these feet? If I think back, how many times have I ever drawn feet? I need to like get better at drawing feet. To this day, I probably still need to keep getting better at drawing feet. VTuber rabbit hole is still years ahead. Surprisingly enough, unsurprisingly enough. But in the year 2018, I do not forget my roots. Remember 2011 and my multiple Detective Conan drawings? We're still into Detective Conan. I'm still into Detective Conan in the year of 2018. And this is Hatsuri Heiji. We've got Shinichi, and we've got Vermouth. Bam, bam, bam. Yes, I am still a fan to this day, even. Detective Conan's good. So yeah, that's... The year 2018 is mostly drawing things in one sitting in such a way that they look pretty decent. And I ended off with an updated drawing of Lachlan. You like the lady one? This is Vermouth. She's kind of like the villain. Well, the ambiguous female villain. I don't know if it's the right use of the word, but is it like a femme fatale kind of character? I don't know what that word means though, but maybe. So yeah, then Lachlan, kid version, is the last one. So that was at the end of 2018. And, well, it's basically just getting used to drawing, I guess. Compared to the experimentation and progress of the earlier years, as we get into like the years following me getting a pen tablet, I think the differences between each year decrease quite a bit. So we can move on to 2019. And the first one of 2019 is Yato from Noragami. So a nice smile, soft hair, soft clothes, everything is very purple. Like the hands are also very soft. Like I feel like this was a pretty nice one. Like I kind of understand how to shade from this point in a way that's more comfy, I guess. Obviously, part of it is taking more time. So, you know, as opposed to hard shading where I can just do like hard shadow, hard light, this is soft. So I've got like those edges and like some parts are darker than other parts. It kind of takes a bit more time. And what also takes time is getting this thing to respond. I should keep deleting deleting these folders. But yeah, around this time is like, you know, 2018 included. 2018, 2019 is when I started posting art online a bit more consciously. Because I've technically been posting online since 2010, right? That's where I've gotten all of these, because I don't keep track of my old art. I have to get them back off online. And I was posting my art since 2010, but I wasn't really doing much with it, or I wasn't really thinking about it. So 2018, 2019 is when I started like, all right, let's try to draw things that, I don't know, not exactly like to be popular, but like, let's put an effort to draw something presentable that I want people to see. I guess that's the way to put it. Because the first, I don't know, 5 years is more like, I'll post things online as a record of what I've done. And then now it's like, I'll post things online that I am proud and want to show other people. Yeah, like at this, like around this time, 2019, I figured out how to do like soft shading. So, like this shirt is nice. Like this kind of soft feeling, right? Where there's a darker shadow and then it kind of like gets lighter. Like there's darker shadows in points, but like not fully just a whole block of shadow like how it was here, where it's just a block. Hard lines. I say that and then we come back to hard lines because I wanted to make a parallel. So this is, you know, my other character, Tertia. Again, kid version to mirror Lachlan's kid version. But yeah, did the same coloring style just so that these two could be a set. And so, you know, they're the OCs that I have done nothing with. And then the feeling of, why is there always Fire Emblem? But here's the 2019 Fire Emblem. Byleth. And possibly the best armor I've ever drawn. I don't know if I've drawn any better armor to this date. And it's like, it's hardly armor. It's just around his arms and like an elbow thing. That's it. It's hardly armor. And it doesn't even look like armor, really. It's not very metallic. But like, armor. It's so hard. And this is another one where I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to draw it, because I don't know if you can tell, but there aren't very many lines on this. It's like I painted over and over and over again that it's kind of like blocks of color. Oh, hey Haruki! I've been going through my art since 2010 and we're finally at 2019. We're almost at a decade. And then this is just a quick fan art of Toya from Hikaru no Go. This one I just wanted to include because it's the same character with 3 different ages. So like when he's younger, when he's like a young adult, and then when he's like an adult. And, well, I mean, it's okay. You missed 9 years, yes. I'll give you an ultra quick recap, as in I'll skip right to the very beginning and like pick something in the middle, and then go back up to where we are. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? So this was the very first one. Wow. And then this was the very first digital one, and this was the very first traditional one. Wow, wow. Right. And then I'll pick one from 2014. 2014 was an interesting year. Wow, 2014. I can draw so well. This is 3 years later. You know, when I put it like that, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? 3 years from this to this? Actually, that's kind of crazy. What the heck? I mean, it's the start of 2011 for this one, and then the end of 2014 for this one. So, close to 4 years? And then on the digital side, this was my full digital in 2010, and then my full digital in 2014. Looks like this. Oh, minus the scribbles, I just added those. So I guess when you look at it like this, from this to this in 4 years, from this to this in 4 years, the early years are really where you see the most improvement. Because after that, like, I think this is like the best traditional thing that I have that's fully penciled, because after that, my fully traditional stuff is... I guess the only way I can say that I've improved there is if I add color. So like this is like my fully traditional with color. What's 2016? So 2 years later, my traditional art goes from like pencil drawing to with color, I guess. But that's kind of like a different category. And then digital-wise, it's kind of unfair to compare because this is drawn with a mouse. So once I got a tablet, fully digital became like this in 3 years. No, sorry, 2 years. So it went from that to this in 2 years. But that's because I got a pen tablet. So that's kind of like a cheap comparison. And yeah, and then now we're in 2019. And we're back. So, this is teenager, young adult Lachlan. Fully-ish rendered. I think, well, there's a few things that bug me about this one, but it's okay. But you know, grown-up version of this, right? Less neon colors. But this is pretty much the design that stayed. It's the same as this, but you can't really see it as much because of the angle. So this is like the clean version of the OC that I never use. So yeah, we're still in 2019. And we get this one. So this is one that I'm actually really happy with. I had to use reference images for the guitars, which was a bit annoying. I really like how the shoes turned out. I really like how the clothes turned out. So, in particular, the fact that this clothes is like super creasy and like you can see how like, I don't know, how much it, you know, folds and stuff. Like it's kind of tight. And then this is more loose. Like the way that you can tell that, I'm like, wow, dang, I drew this? Even as I was drawing it. And then, yeah, the shoes. Like, let me zoom in on the shoes. Like, wow, the amount of detail on these shoes. These shoes are actually, like, drawn. I mean, at this point in time, I could probably draw shoes like these now, but at the time, look, I drew the stitches. So yeah, it's like shoes. I also drew the stitches on the pants. So it's all like details and stuff. The guitar. The fender. Yeah, this is something that I was quite happy with. Given fan art. By the way, I don't know if you've realized, but the amount of original art has dropped dramatically since I got the tablet. Once I got the tablet, it's like, alright, time to draw fan art! And everything I draw is fan art. Except for the OCs that I never do anything with. And then speaking of fan art, this is also fan art. Legend of Galactic Heroes. Kirky Ice. Good guy. Not much else to say. I've also got Arata from Chihayafuru. Chihayafuru, very good anime. Good manga. It makes me want to learn Karuta, but memorizing Japanese poems is difficult. And Chihayafuru is the kind of thing where I really liked it, and I had the feeling of wanting to draw fan art for it, right? You know, this is clearly fan art for it, but you know that feeling when you like something so much that you don't want to ruin it by like drawing it yourself and not living up to your own expectations? That's kind of like how it is with Chihayafuru. So I've only drawn like a couple of fan art of it, but it's actually an anime that I really, really like. But I feel like there's just something special about it that I can't capture when I draw it, you know? So that's just one of the ones that are kind of like, I wish I could draw more, but I also don't feel like I can do it justice. Yeah. And it's like, when you feel that, there's a part of you that's like, nah, you should just draw it anyway. But then it wars against that other feeling. And then the last one of 2019 is just, you know, Shokugeki no Soma. Megumi fan art. Well, she's cute. What else can I say? That's pretty simple. And also, the first seasons were much, much better than the later seasons. It really fell off towards the end. Like, to the level where, should I keep watching? It was a lot of that. I mean, it's nice to see good food, though. But yeah, that's all of 2019. So it's just really a continuation of, yeah, gradually drawing more. I kind of feel like I could really zoom through the next years, because once I got the drawing tablet, it's very much, yeah, I drew something. Like this, Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. and I drew Suo. This is my other Chiayafu fan art. And this is the one where I tried to capture the feeling from the series, like from the original a bit more. Because the other Chiayafu fan art I did here, right? This is just our test studying. There's nothing special about that. But this one, I actually tried to capture this feeling of like him not really drowning, but like he's like under the water, but he's like covering his ears and stuff. Like, you know, there's like poetry. There's like beauty. But I don't know how to express it. How do you express how good the series is? Because like sound is so important in Karuta, being able to listen to the poem that's being read. And like, I don't know, his character's story is really interesting. Like, I don't know, the importance of hearing. Yes, let's not listen to loud music. Let's not listen to the loud sounds of the city. It damages your ears. Even in normal living. Well, I listen to music all the time, so my ears are probably done for. Oh yeah. I moved on to 2020, so let me update the board. We're in 2020. Zooming through. So, you know what happened in 2020? To Karohi? Something happened in 2020 to Karohi. Perhaps we could call this another turning point. Just like how getting a pen tablet was a turning point. Because 2020 is the year that I made a YouTube account. This YouTube account. Right here. Where you are watching right now. And the very first video that I put up was a speed paint of an OC. This guy. Another OC that I've done absolutely nothing to. These characters that just exist. And while being a speed paint, you can literally see the video on my channel. I don't remember how long it took, but it was probably like an hour or two. So, what does having a YouTube channel change for me? It meant I started trying to record stuff. Started to think about how much time it takes me to do things. Started to do projects. But in 2020, you know, I started the YouTube channel, but I was still drawing stuff, like, outside of that. So, remember these guys? I drew another one. And yeah, it's basically, wow, the last one was so good, I want to draw another one that's also good. So I spent some time drawing this one as well, and this one actually has a background. And the trees actually look pretty decent. Like, if we're talking about evolution of drawing trees and backgrounds, I feel like if I go back, if I go back just 1 year, let me show you the level of quality in my trees. This is... what is this? It's just like random green spots and like darker green spots. This actually looks like it has shapes. So yeah. I'll say again that my grass is just green. The leaves being green I feel are more acceptable. But I mean, grass is green, so it's confusing. What color is grass supposed to be? It just feels a bit strangely too green when I look at it like this. But yeah, this is, if I didn't mention before, these two are from Given. And as I say that, here's another one from Given. So, I was using, I guess you could say I was using Given as like, I don't know, my muse? The trying to outdo myself, right? Yeah, more yaoi. So this is like, they both play a violin, right? And so this is kind of like showing how they're chained by the violin strings and like, you know, trying to do meaning. Putting meaning in my art. Yeah. I need to try drawing more stuff like this, but this was like the, you know, all of these three. It's kind of like, how can I express the good parts of the canon source material, right? Like this one, it expresses like that feeling of like being trapped, which is expressed incredibly well in the source material. So like that's like the representation here. And then this is like the calm togetherness and like relaxed feeling of like being able to be together. Something like that. So if I could have figured out a way to express that for like Chihayafu, that would have been great. But this is the kind of level of stuff that I feel like I need to be able to do justice to my fan art of stuff that I really like. And incidentally, since I'm like really into VTubers now, I'll just kind of jump into the future. Since this is, I think, the last really meaningful art that I did. Since I'm into VTubers now, there's a lot of things that I like about VTubers, but doing art like this of VTubers is still difficult for me, because they're real people. So like trying to do symbolic, kind of thematic stuff is hard for me to think of. Maybe one day I'll get over that hurdle. But I don't know, it's kind of like, say I like the friendship between two streamers, and then I draw that, like, is that, they're real people, you know? It's like real person fic or something. It's hard to handle in my mind. Anyways. This is more Fire Emblem. Is there like seriously Fire Emblem every single year? This is 2020 Fire Emblem. Dimitri from Three Houses. So yeah, I said that Byleth was like the best armor I've ever drawn because here's armor again. You can see how I totally ran away from shading it by putting all of these random sparkly effects. Line between fiction and reality starts to blur. Yeah. So when I draw fan art for VTubers, it's like it's pretty straightforward for me. Like I can only draw straightforward things. Like, you know, like happy birthday, whoo, celebration, happy. Or like if a certain thing happened in a stream, draw what happened in the streams like directly. It's hard to imagine or interpret something. I'm not at that level yet. I want to be at that level though. Because it's not like I'd be drawing anything really crazy. There's a lot of people who draw lightly like imagined scenarios and stuff in a totally normal way. And the VTubers themselves like it. So I know that it's fine. So it's just me. And speaking of VTubers, 2020, this is the year. This is the year I got into VTubers. And the very first VTuber that I drew is not Akina, even though he's who I have here. It was actually Kaida Haru. But that was a very quick sketch. As I said, it was a happy birthday drawing, actually. I think I only spent like an hour or two on it. And then after that I drew Kuzuha. And then after that I did a proper, like, you know, sit down, plan a drawing, and came up with Akina. This is my first proper full, you know, fully rendered, clean lines, everything, art of a VTuber. And yes, it begins. So that was 2020, and quick going back to the fact that I made a YouTube channel. In 2020, I started my first project, I think it was my first project, drawing all of the Fruits Basket animals. Well, the main characters, let's call them. So I just picked 3 that I liked. But basically, 2020, the start of me doing projects and not just doing single one-off drawings. Though looking at the last of my really good ones there, I'm kind of like, you know what? They were pretty good. And from 2021 to 2025, it's all pretty much stuff that you see on my channel. So it's mostly like project stuff. So I'll just kind of skim through them quickly, but let's update the text. We're now in 2021. So, original art. I kind of said earlier that once I got the tablet, I stopped drawing original art and I just ended up drawing fan art all the time. Making my channel, very briefly, I got back to doing a bit of original art. So, fun fact, this drawing here was one of my very first streams that I streamed on YouTube to like 0 viewers. I don't know, maybe there was someone who dropped by. But this was one of the first things I drew on stream. And I'll just kind of go through my original stuff. I've always wanted an aesthetic window seat like this. I wonder if they actually are comfortable though. Although I'm thinking about Canada, aren't I? I'm thinking right now outside this window it's snowing. So if you sit by a window when it's cold outside, you get like the drafts and it's like ridiculously cold just by being by the window. Maybe my windows are just bad though. And yeah, my other original drawing was this one. I think this one was also pretty cool. It's just, you know, I've become so used to drawing fan art, I don't draw original art anymore. I should draw original art again. And then another one that was original. Yeah, this one was just, what happens if I draw something where the base color is white? How do I shade it? It's all just vague orange, blue, purple, pink, but it's all mainly white. So I think that was a fun experiment. And then I had my other project, which was drawing Love and Producer fan art. I think this one actually, you could see the improvement. From pretty basic to a bit more shading. And then I also had a one-off caster Artoria. Which was drawn using the idea of drawing like, what, thick painting instead of drawing lines. I still like how her hair turned out. And I like the green. And then in 2021 is still my favorite project that I've done. I did know FGO? Yeah, I know FGO, but like, I don't really know it that much, to be honest. Like, I know a bunch of random Fate stuff, but I'm not huge on it. But yeah, the 86 project is still my favorite project when it comes to the quality of the stuff that came out of it. Ah, how the heck did I do this? 2 weeks per drawing, as in 2 sessions. So starting with Kurina and ending with Milize. Lena. I still think that, like, because they're all basically around, what, this level of almost half-waist up, and then, you know, full, I guess, wallpaper size background, and then they've all got like a cohesive color, like this reddish feel, this bluish feel. I just like it so much. I'm a fan of it myself. And then when I was going through my files in 2021, I found a file that I have never uploaded anywhere. Fun fact. So, showing it here in 2025, this artwork that I drew in 2021 will be the first time I have ever shown it from myself. It is a fan art of Kaida for his birthday. I'm kind of like, when I think about it, I drew this, and I didn't upload it anywhere. Because actually what this was for was a birthday project. Back when I guess, like, you know, I tried looking for things to participate in. There was like this birthday project for Kaida, where the organizers, like, you know, collected messages and like art and like put it together in a video. So I drew this for that. So it's technically on the internet somewhere, credited to my name. I can't remember where the video is though. But, you know, it's in the slideshow. This is in that slideshow, in that video. But I just never uploaded it separately. Because, like, you know, you submit it in advance, so, I don't know, I missed the timing. Unless if I did submit it. I mean, upload it. But I don't think I did. So yeah, this was actually kind of really detailed. Let me zoom in on it so that you can see the details on it once it starts responding again. You know, I swear it wasn't this slow when I was using it before, but it's probably just because I'm streaming at the same time. Let's zoom in like that much. So you see? Look at the detail on that like orb and like this tassel. I guess his face is, you know, it's pretty normal. But like, I also have like the texture, because I guess I was playing around with texture at the time. The folds here are actually pretty detailed as well. Quite sharp. Yeah. Wow, actual details and stuff. Wow, wow. That's that. I was pretty happy with it when I drew it. There's also like the lines on his shirt, the buttons here. What else? I mean, like the fact that it's shaded carefully around like here as well. So you can see like the fact that the cloth bends here. And it bends here as well. And I think I might have frozen it again by zooming it in and then trying to Control Z it. But yeah, you can look at all the details. There's even this thing here. You don't know what it is because you don't know his model by heart, but there's actually a knot over here, and that's one of the loops from it. Alright. And then the last thing from 2021 is the Halloween fan art. I said fan art! This is my own original characters! My own... my Halloween art of my original characters. Possibly the last thing that I ever did with them. Sorry, guys. Did I ever do anything else with these guys? 2021, that's a while ago. I should do something with them again. Someday. Well, we'll continue zooming through. 2022. I'm drawing some more fan art. You know, more VTubers. The feeling of, yo, I'm getting pretty good. And then I had this one where hey, it's the Fire Emblem of 2022. Dimitri again. But the armor was so difficult, the pose was so difficult, and this one I'm like heavily unsatisfied with compared to the other ones. And then, you know, fan art, VTubers. Oh, original art. The fact I still have original art. And then more original art. I guess this is still OC original art. And then Makima, the last... I wasn't intending it to be the last speed paint video on my channel, but 2022, Makima, the last speed paint video on my channel. Everything else has been short since then. Which, Kanai was a short. Yeah, Makima. I wonder how the new Chainsaw Man is. And then 2023, you know, more VTuber stuff. More VTuber stuff. And more VTuber stuff. I think everything, like, from once I got, like... I don't know, I really like Alira and this Vaults Trio one. Like, when I look at these ones, I kind of think to myself, dang! How did I draw so good? How do I draw so good? Like, those are ones that make me quite happy. And then, well, Oh hey, I totally just zooming through let's just say 2023 to 2025. Everything's gonna go like... I'm just zooming through everything here now. But 2023 is the year when I started my project. And instead of going through everything there, this is the thing. This is the thing that I did. I drew all of these. I drew all of these in the span of like a year and a half. And yeah, there was improvement from the first ones to the last ones. Things I learned about drawing in a kind of standard format. But there sure was a lot. And I really did like going through like everyone. So, you know, being able to say that I have at least briefly looked at every single library that was, well, active at the time. So anyone who debuts after that, I check out and I'm like, I have at least passed my eyes through every single one. It's kind of like a nice thing to think about. Too much of a completionist. But in comparison, let me just jump to the present right now, like 2025, like right now. I'm doing those daily drawings, right? Where I have, I just do a actual pencil drawing, which I haven't done since, as you can tell now that I've gone through my history. I haven't done traditional art really since, let me scroll through this again to confirm. Last traditional art I did was in 2017. That I uploaded at least. Obviously there's doodles and stuff. So, almost 10 years since I uploaded traditional art. Exaggeration, but somewhat an exaggeration. It's like doing these daily draws. Daily draws makes it sound like I'm drawing for like a lottery or something. Daily drawings? It's kind of like doing this stuff again, but instead of going liver by liver once every few days, which is kind of the pace I was doing this at, like I think I was doing about like 2 a week. 1 to 2 a week. By drawing in my sketchbook what stream or video I liked from the previous day, it kind of makes me look back and be like, oh yeah, I guess I like this person, or I guess I've been watching a lot of this person lately. Because I kind of don't pay attention to that. I just take a look at like what stream's going on, and I'm like, yeah, I'll watch that. Because looking back at the month of August now that it's almost over, I watched Hitotsubashi Ayato Sensei a lot more than I thought I did. It's just like here and there, but what, 2 or 3 times this month I've watched him? That sounds like nothing, but considering there's a few people that I've only watched like once or twice, I don't know, it's interesting. Or I guess it's more so the fact that he featured as like my favorite stream of the day. Because I'm looking through this now and like, say Chima, I drew her for her birthday stream, but I think I've listened to a few of her other singing streams here and there. But the thing about singing streams is that I listen to them, but I don't pay too much attention to them, so it doesn't feature as like my favorite stream of the day. because all I did was listen to it. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens every single day. So that's what I really like about drawing every day. Anyways, intermission over. Let's jump over to 2024. Outside of this whole project, 2024 also had some individual stuff, like the AU Academy group picture. The whole, yeah, I can draw baseball. And then Mayuyu and Fuagusa. So when I compare it to 2023, these are a bit less intense. Like 2023 was just like pretty crazy. Having this one alone is like 2023 was amazing. Just for having this one drawing. Yeah, that was 2024, and then we're already in 2025, which is this year. Everything that I drew this year. And this is like practically happened yesterday. These ones, they're all this year. This was, okay, so like the Salome and Ike, these two were the ones that I drew right after the concert, so I guess you could call them the, spiritual predecessor of my current daily draws. So, you know, I drew them after watching them because I wanted to commemorate the occasion. So every time I draw something every day now in my sketchbook, it's like commemorating a stream that I liked. Or doesn't have to be a single stream, it could be like something. Because, well, I guess I'll give a spoiler, but my commemorating thing that I'm gonna be drawing for yesterday is the Mongolian dog. Even if it's not a stream, it's the current Twitter trend. And I think it's funny. So things like that. Just basically journaling. And then this was drawn after watching that live. This one was drawn because I think Ryushin is just cool, and more people should think that Ryushin is really cool. This one was from Madtown GTA. I'm glad I drew this, because now that I look back at it, I can remember how much I liked Madtown GTA. Like, that's what I really want out of these drawings when I draw something. Is to be able to look back and be like, yeah, I liked that thing. All of these, like, that's kind of the feeling for all of these. It's just, you know, I like the heroes. I'm happy I drew them. I like Volt Action. I'm happy I drew them. I liked Salome's first live. I'm happy I drew it. I liked Ike's Blue Light. I'm happy I drew it. Heck, I liked the whole overture. And then, like, I liked, well, I liked Chacho's new hairstyle, but I also liked all of the whole Sendai live as the first one to kick it off, the world tour. Super great opening. I'm glad I have this drawing that I drew to remember it whenever I look at it. And Ryushin's just cool. This one isn't really to commemorate anything. Ryushin's just cool. This kind of commemorates Madtown GTA. And then this one, this one's super clear. Yeah. I like that Niji Apocalypse scenario that Luca came up with. Straight. Like, that's what this is. And then this is the Niji Koshien for this year. The fact that I supported AU Academy again, even though Even though they didn't do so well in the tournament, they had the best bout, super duper tense match, which I even commemorated with another drawing because it was such an intense match. So yeah. I guess that's my art vibe for 2025. It's really just everything that I like, I want to draw. I want to draw things that I like. So that I can remember that I like this thing. And I guess that's the reason why people draw fan art in general. And I'm considering, once August comes to an end, maybe if I look back at all of like my paper drawings, maybe I should draw something like clean, full-on art. Maybe like my favorite thing that happened in August. Draw one thing. It's just, I'm scrolling through it right now, and it's hard to decide what was my favorite thing that happened in August. There's just too many things that happened in August. Which is a good thing. As a fan, it's always good to be happy with what I am being fed. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this exhibit. So, I guess before I end off, anything you want me to talk about? Any questions? What is my next stream? When am I gonna upload the schedule for the next month? We doing this again in 15 years? Who? I wonder what's gonna happen in 15 years. A lot happened in the past 15 years. I wonder if I will actually do something with my original characters. That's the question I want to ask myself. Wonder if I'll have any other original characters. But I feel like as long as I'm such a deep fan, I'm like too deep in the fan category to be creating things. I need to step away from the fan part and do more creation. Alright, well, if that's all, then next stream is gonna be Valorant. My first ever FPS. So I actually did download it before, and I tried, you know, I went through the tutorial, and I shot a gun. And what I've concluded is that if I were to do a stream, I will just do deathmatch and not the main game modes, cause whew, there are a lot of rules there. And it's kind of funny how little I know about it despite watching Valorant streams. FPS are scary. Well, it's my first time trying to play it, so wish me luck. I want to try it out. I want to see what it's like. And in the few games that I tried in deathmatch, I did get some hits. I did get some kills. I got more deaths than kills, but I got some kills. So you can watch me suffer next week. But that will be it. And for the rest of the schedule, just to give you guys a heads up, there's my planning stream, right? Where I planned out all of the streams until the end of the year. And I planned out like each week, right? Week by week. I might swap them around depending on how I feel. But the month, like what happens within a month will stay the same. If that makes sense. Well, it doesn't really matter to you guys because I'll just post the schedule when I finish it. But yeah, in case you actually were keeping track of the schedule based on the planning stream, the actual schedule is going to be in the schedule. And dead more than kill is normal. I had a lot more dead than kill. The mustache looks good on me. Does it? One thing about having the mustache is that you won't notice my mouth tracking as much. Let me rip it off. How do I look now? Do you still recognize me? Or do you only recognize me with the mustache now? It was my art critique self, even though I wasn't really critiquing my art. What? What? Oh no. Is the exhibit closing down right now? It's disappearing? Alright, I guess that means it's time to get out of here. Then, you know, the time for the exhibit is over. In fact, closing time is approaching, so we gotta get out of here or we'll get locked up. I'm gonna leave first. If you're gonna leave, you better leave. You better leave soon, okay? Alright, I'm out of here. Bye. Thank you for watching.